The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the BASF Energy Contest. My name is Casey Shapiro, and I will be your host and moderator for this webinar. At this time, I'll briefly go through the agenda for this webinar. First, we'll provide the speaker introductions, then we'll provide an overview and technical goals for the challenge, and after that we'll present the frequently asked questions of the challenge, then work through a live audience Q&A. To participate in the live Q&A, please submit your questions at any time through the Q&A chat box. We will collect and present these questions during the live Q&A section. If we do not answer your question live, please note that we will be transcribing and answering all questions asked during the session and posting them on the contest forum for viewing at a later date. And then finally, we will wrap up with information on what you can do today for the challenge, including where to register, how to stay connected, and how to submit your proposal. Now, I am pleased to welcome the following speakers to our webinar this morning. From BASF, we have Christian Beil, Senior Innovation Manager, BASF 150th Anniversary Project, Dr. Sigmar Browninger, Senior Research Manager, Electrochemical Processes and Energy, Jung Kim, Manager, Open Innovation North America, Stefan Wagner, Incubation Unit, GCI, and then from 9 Sigma we have Eloise Young, PhD, Senior Program Manager. The topic for today's webinar is the BASF Energy Contest, Efficient Chemical Storage of Energy for Stationary Applications. Now I'll open up the floor for Christian to give some history on BASF and CreatorSpace, the BASF co-creation program. Christian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and also a warm welcome from my side from Ludwigshafen. Why we are here today, I guess most of you have heard about it, but I guess the reason is quite easy and also a little bit surprising. It's BASF 150th anniversary. And what everyone would expect for an anniversary for sure is something what we want to do. We want to celebrate the company and the rich history of the company together with our employees and together with our partners. But on top of this, we also decided to do something for the future. And we thought the best way to do something for the future is shaping the future through new ways of innovation with our partners, but also with people we might not know so far. And this is what we are calling co-creation. And on the next slide, you can actually then see that for this purpose, BASF launched on the 4th of December last year the BASF CreatorSpace program. This is a BASF co-creation program. And within the anniversary year, we want to tackle 3 different areas within this co-creation program. The first area is urban living. The second area is everything around food. And the third area, what is actually also the area of today's discussion, is on smart energy. And in order to co-create, we actually developed a different program for you and for our partners, and the program consists out of different elements. One element is a physical tour that tours around big cities in the world, where we can actually physically engage with our partners and people we want to network with. We have CreatorSpace Online as our online page, where you can also discuss around the 3 topics with us, but you also can inform yourself about the anniversary program, about the co-creation program. We will have 3 global science symposia, 1 on each of the 3 anniversary topics. And we run and execute different co-creation activities around the globe, dedicating different stakeholder groups. So ones are dedicated for our employees, for example. Others are tackling our customers or our suppliers. But we are also reaching out to people we don't know so far. And for this, we also have launched the Energy Contest as one of these co-creation activities as part of the anniversary program. And if you want to get more information about the program in detail, you can go to CreatorSpace Online. Just Google CreatorSpace and BASF. You will find the online page quite easy. And there you can also find a little movie that is introducing the anniversary concept in a very nice way, much better than I can do within this given short time frame here. So I would really encourage you to come and join us on the anniversary online page and discuss with us around the 3 topics and help us to shape the future. With this, I would like to hand over to my colleague Stefan, who will introduce more in detail one of these activities as part of the Creatorspace program, this energy contest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian. Stefan, you are ready to go.
Yes, thank you, Casey. So I want to start with the explanation of BASF's motivation to launch such a contest. Looking at the incentive behind, there are several issues why we as BASF see a strong need for energy storage devices. First of all, we expect, and despite the present low of the oil price, fluctuating and increasing prices of fossil fuels, and with a long-term view, the depletion of these fossil fuels has to be considered, and the supply and demand of energy can only be met, in our view, if renewable energy can be used in a reliable, clean and efficient way. Second, if the share of renewable energy, for example wind and solar, in the grid increases, one has to handle the intermittent character of these sources. And thirdly, the use of energy storage systems will help to better manage these fluctuations. They are expressed by deviations between the energy supply and demand. And in such cases, we speak, for example, about load management or load leveling, and this might be used for storage times of several hours. Additionally, short-time applications of storage devices could be used to stabilize the grid. Some catchwords in this context are, for example, power quality, peak shaving, and the spinning reserve. We also see further applications in the case of power emergencies, for example, by failure of transmission or failure of generation. And finally, to summarize, we as BASF see really a true economic potential in the market of the energy storage. We expect a yearly market growth of more than 10% until 2030, and we estimate the total market in the US, Europe, and Asia to 8 billion euros each. So next slide, please. Looking at this slide, the title represents a question that has been raised to us very often within the last week. Why do you host this innovation contest? So solutions are already known and commercially available. Well, at a first glance, this is absolutely right. And looking at this slide, you can see that there are really indeed a lot of solutions that already exist. When you focus on electrical energy storage, there are chemical and non-chemical systems. I don't want to go through the details of this slide, but the key message is, yes, there are a lot of technologies. Some of them are already mature and ready to use. Others are in an early stage of development and suffer from one or the other problem. And you can see some of these problems in the very right column. However, why do we as BASF still see a need for new technologies? And the answer is simple. It's about the money. Even though the need is technically solved, the cost structure of these systems is not economical and will, in our perspective, not allow a mass penetration of the market. Next slide. Thanks. So this is why the more important question, in our view, is if the need is really economically solved. And to answer these questions, there are a lot of KPIs known and defined. These KPIs allow an economical evaluation of storage technologies. Some examples are the levelized cost of energy, the net present value, or the cost per energy per cycle. When you apply these definitions to the known technology, one can easily see that for all currently used technologies, the capital costs are too high and thus a market penetration is prevented. The European Association for Storage and Energy has worked on a roadmap for energy storage technology and published some numbers which they expect in the short and long-term future. As you can see in the table, according to their evaluation, for example, metal air batteries offer the most promising economic potential. In the long-term view, these numbers are in the range where we also see a potential of a high market penetration. And this is the reason why we initiated this innovation contest. We are looking for new ideas, and we hope that they are able to store energy at a very low cost level. This means that the capital costs have to be reduced and the cell life has to be increased. And one remark here, metal air is only an example. We are interested in all technology as long as chemistry plays an important role in the technology. So coming now to our last technical slide, we summarized here, in our view, critical issues that have to be addressed and improved in the advancement of some known technology. But as already mentioned, these are just some examples. In our point of view, the even bigger potential lies in the box that we have named here other technologies. And these are new technologies that we have not been thinking about yet and that we want to address in the contest. So, and therewith, I like to hand over to Eloise that she can tell you more about the objectives of our contest.
Thank you so much, Stefan. Great. Thanks very much, Stefan. So, as Stefan already said, I think he did a great job explaining in detail the concepts that technically the goal of grid-level storage of energy has been achieved. The challenge for this contest is to meld the low-cost efficiency aspect with the grid-level storage of electricity. And so basically what we're looking for is new technologies that can bring the cost of stored energy down. So this will provide, as we've already discussed in previous slides, a way to integrate intermittent renewable energy sources such as tidal, solar, wind, etc. It allows for load leveling. So it provides a way to provide energy when energy isn't necessarily being produced by the sun or by wind. And furthermore, it offers opportunities for arbitrage, which is to buy when the power is cheap and sell when the power is high. So again, the objective of this contest is for BASF to learn about new technologies that can store grid levels of electricity in a way that will reduce the cost of such electricity relative to current electricity that's available from, say, petroleum-based products. So on the next slide, the incentive for participating in this contest is several-fold. The one that's right up front is the fact that up to 5 of the top respondents will each receive 100,000 euros cash prize. But of course, the goal of the contest is actually for BASF to learn about and then ultimately develop some of the most promising energy storage solutions. So in addition to the cash prizes, each of these winners will have the opportunity to work with BASF to develop a detailed technical and feasibility analysis for the proposed technology. And as a result of this analysis, BASF may choose to provide development funding to some of these respondents. So if we talk nuts and bolts now about the contest, so let's talk about the schedule. So the contest is live now. We launched it back at ARPA-E in early February, and it will close to new submissions on June 2nd. Between June 2nd and November, when the winners are announced, BASF will be evaluating all of the responses and making a determination. So if we move to the next slide, you can see, as I said, the deadline is June 2nd. And, we will provide lots of information to remind people about the deadlines at the website, through our outreach, through newsletters, etc. And, just to reiterate, the top 5 respondents, after BASF has evaluated all of the submissions that have come in, will each receive a 100,000 euro cash prize. But I think that for a lot of people, we all recognize that the prize is well and good. The opportunity to have BASF collaborate with you to develop this detailed technical and economic analysis of your technology has, a lot of value. The winners will be announced in November of 2015. So the submissions are going to be evaluated for the ability to store energy for stationary applications. And when we say store energy, we're talking about storing energy at grid level. So we aren't talking energy for a car or even energy for a home. And additionally, BASF is a chemistry company. They create chemistry. So technologies that are proposed have to be able to demonstrate the role that chemistry plays in this technology.
And so, for example, as we saw, I think in one of the earlier slides that Stefan presented, where he had some technologies in light blue and some in dark blue, things like flywheels, which would be a mechanical technology. You would have to work hard to convince BASF how chemistry plays a role. That's not to say that it might not if you have some fabulous new material that BASF might be interested in that would improve the performance of a flywheel. But it is incumbent upon you to demonstrate how chemistry plays a strong role in the proposed technology. And then to move on to what kind of energy. So we are looking to store and release electricity. And I think we've had some questions at the website forum that address this. And so I just want to be clear on this, and we're certainly happy to answer more questions during the Q&A period about this issue. Finally, the electricity that is being stored in this new technology, it needs to be available at a cost that is equal to or less than what the cost for existing energy storage solutions currently provide. So, as it says here, demonstrate the potential for reduced investment costs. All right. So why should you be interested in participating in this contest? So it is, in addition to, of course, doing the greater good for helping technology advance and helping the world meet the global energy demands as we move forward, from a more upfront perspective, it's a great opportunity to get your technology in front of technical teams at BASF. So all participants will have the potential for further discussions with BASF. So in other words, if your technology isn't maybe one of the 5 finalists, but for whatever other reason may have something that is of great interest to one of the technical teams, they may choose to continue further conversations with you. Winners, up to 5 winners, will have the opportunity to collaborate with BASF. And this collaboration could ultimately lead to funded development of your technology. And you maintain your intellectual property when you participate in this contest. So this is a great thing. If we move on now to what are some of the frequently asked questions for this contest. So the deadline, as we've already said, is June 2nd. That is June 2nd, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is the time zone for Eastern United States. To submit, you need to do this through our online form. You need to be registered at 9 sites and logged in to be able to do this. And if you have questions about this, we definitely encourage you to contact 9 Sigma. So if you are not sure that your approach is within scope for this challenge, there are a couple of ways that you can get guidance. So one thing I would definitely encourage you to do is to read through the material and read through the questions that are posted at the website. So the website has all of the content regarding the challenge, and the forum at the website has some of the conversations that have already been ongoing regarding scope, regarding process, timeline, etc. There are other ways, of course. You can call us or email us, but what we really encourage you to do is to post your questions at the forum. This allows everybody else to see what other people are asking so that you can learn about the other questions that you might have thought of but didn't necessarily want to ask. So this is a great resource. Definitely, today's Q&A session, this is a great opportunity to get guidance. And if you have questions about your approach, I would strongly encourage you to post them to the chat box so that we can get them aired during the Q&A section, which is coming up in just a few minutes. So energy storage must have a chemical basis. What does that mean? So again, as I said on one of the earlier slides, it's really incumbent upon you to demonstrate the role that chemistry plays in the technology that you're proposing. So for some technologies, this is a slam dunk. It's very easy. It's a no-brainer to explain how chemistry is important in fuel cells or in other types of batteries. But you may have another approach that does not involve that you believe does have a strong chemistry component. So if you can describe that to us, then that is great. And it is on you to make that connection so that we can understand why BASF should be interested in developing this technology. Finally, another question that we're frequently asked is, if you are located outside of Europe, are you still eligible to participate? And the answer is yes. This is a global contest. This energy contest is open to anyone, anywhere. BASF is interested in great ideas no matter where they come from. Okay, so this closes out the section for the frequently asked questions, and we're going to move to the live Q&A.
Right, thank you, Eloise. So at this time, like Eloise said, we'll be opening up the session to any of the questions that we have from the audience. We've already received a number of them through the Q&A chat box. I encourage you to continue to submit through there, and then we will go through them live. Like Eloise said, that we will be taking the rest of this time to answer all of these questions, but don't worry if we don't get to your question due to time restrictions. We will be transcribing and we are recording this session, and it will be live at the contest forum following the webinar. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Just as a reminder, here are all the speakers so that you know exactly who is answering which question. So one of the first questions that we received early on in this webinar is, we use a compressed air technology but use a design that incorporates plastics and or chemicals in our air cavity. Do you believe we are still appropriate to participate in this contest?
So, Stefan, Sigmar, I'm going to throw this over to you guys and let you guys, either one of you, take the first stab at responding to this question.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understood it 100% correctly. So the idea was to use a special plastic container for compressed air. Is that right?
I believe that that's true. What they say is their design incorporates plastics/chemicals in the air cavity for their compressed air technology. And so they are trying to understand whether or not this technology would still be appropriate for this contest.
I think that's not a primary focus, because the chemistry, as far as I understand it now from that one sentence, does not play a major role. But as soon as really there are new materials required that have to be developed, and where we as BASF and as a material supplier can help, then this might again be in our focus.
Sigmar, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I agree completely, because also the breakdown of the components for other technologies that are not chemical processes are not within the scope. So we are also not making any valves or any gaskets for valves for mechanical devices that also contribute to some kind of mechanical energy storage. So I think this is not a primary focus.
Okay, great. And so let me just add, and I'll make a statement and then ask either of you guys to jump in to agree or disagree with this. If this group were to have some sort of novel plastic material that, because of the use of this new material, it either makes their compressed air technology be significantly more efficient or more cost-effective, would that then make it more interesting, or would that still be out of scope?
If this would be a breakthrough, an enabler for breakthrough in this technology cost-wise, I would consider it.
Okay, so I think the message to take away from Sigmar's comments then is that if your approach uses chemicals or plastics or materials that are already known, then it is probably not something that's going to be within scope. However, if you are using novel materials in a novel way, or novel materials in a way that will affect significant increases in efficiency or decreases in cost, then BASF might be interested.
That's right.
Okay. Casey?
So we have a question. How many partners with BASF might be desired? This is a multi-part question, so bear with me. So how many partners with BASF might be desired? Joint venture structures with existing parties already moving forward with a tech, or is it one-on-one, one company with BASF?
So I think we are not limited here, and we are open to everything. And we can think about many possible structures in a later joint development project or whatever. So I don't see any restrictions here.
Great. So have you considered IPR, patent rights, ownership, etc.? How is the confidentiality? Will there be a collaboration agreement? How about an NDA? I know we sort of already answered this in a previous question with the challenge FAQs, but maybe we can reiterate some of that information now.
So I tell you what, this is Eloise, and I will answer questions about this regarding to the submissions to the contest, and then I'm going to pass it over to the BASF team for them to address these same issues with regards to moving forward. So in terms of intellectual property and confidentiality, to submit to this challenge, you would be required, when you are in the online submission process, to assert that the contents of your proposal are non-confidential. So if you already have patents or other types of intellectual property protection in place, then you are in great shape. If you don't, that's okay, because you are not supposed to be presenting anything that is confidential in that proposal. Can you scroll up? With regards to moving forward, so the groups that are chosen by BASF to receive a prize and have further collaboration, I will throw this part of the question over to maybe Jung and Stefan to address.
Yes, so maybe I can comment on that. So after the prize has been given, we will go into then, or we will decide here if we start a project and if we start that cooperation, as Eloise already mentioned it, and then this will all be part of the JDA agreement and of the JDA negotiations. But for sure, I mean, we have to talk and to negotiate then about patent questions and all the legal stuff.
Okay, so just to clarify, because there was a follow-up question, after somebody has received the €100,000 prize, does the original submitter own the work that is done after that? And you had already mentioned, Stefan, a JDA, a joint development agreement, and so you know, just to kind of clarify, so that work that is done afterwards, if there is work that is done, would be subject to the terms of a joint development agreement, correct?
This is correct, yes.
Okay, great. Great, so the next question we have is, what about value-adding extra services which can be in addition to storing and releasing and or recreating electricity?
Can you repeat, please? I didn't get it.
Sure. So what about value-adding extra services which can be in addition to storing and releasing and or recreating electricity?
And what is the example? Can you give an example?
The person who submitted that question did not actually provide an example. I think they were trying to understand, in addition to storing and releasing, is the scope broad enough to accommodate other types of extra services? I don't know what they are, and if the person who submitted that question will type into their chat box right now, we will come back to that question in a moment or two and move on to the next question, which is this topic aimed only at chemical solutions, or is the aim for any technology? So again, this is a question about what is in and not in scope. So I'll throw this back over to you guys.
I mean, chemistry should play a significant part in the solution. and it's chemistry that is some kind of advanced chemistry that has not been applied in this kind of energy storage device so far.
Yes, and as Eloise mentioned it already, I mean, for batteries, it's obvious, or for fuel cells, and if other solutions will be submitted, then one really has to elaborate on the role that chemistry plays in the solution, and that should be a major role. So as you already mentioned, Eloise, a flywheel, I mean, that's normally out of scope, but if there is an idea of special materials that could really help as to make a breakthrough technology out of it, then this could be interesting for us. It's a new component or new material, maybe.
Thanks very much, both of you. So the individual who had asked the question about value-added extra services has provided examples. And so examples of these services include integration with smart microgrids, creative new commodities that could be sold to extra markets in addition to grid electricity. So the question is, would those services be within scope for this contest?
I think this is something like a systems design, more like a systems design, how to integrate the storage device, and this is, to my understanding, not the focus. So this is not the chemistry that plays the central role, but it's more the system approach and the integration, where I don't see the chemistry.
Great, thanks very much, Sigmar. And I do encourage everybody to go and read through the postings that are at the forum for this contest, because there actually have been one or two other questions about systems integration services and whether or not those could be considered within scope. And I think that if you are having questions about whether or not your approach is within scope, the two things to ask yourself are, does my technology store and release electricity? And if it does, can I make a case for how chemistry plays a critical role? How does chemistry play an innovative role or a role in reducing cost or improving efficiency? So, if you can answer those questions in the correct fashion, then you are probably within scope. But I would definitely ask Sigmar or Stefan to step in and either correct me or augment my comments.
No, you're right. That's true.
Okay. So we have a question that is clarifying points from earlier in the presentation. So somebody was looking for clarification on early stage technologies that are still at the lab scale that may not be economically competitive yet, but so let me start that again. Early stage technologies that are still at the lab scale that may not be economically competitive yet would not be eligible?
So I think what the person is asking is, if they have technologies that are still at the lab scale that in lab scale may not yet be economically competitive, are they still of interest and are they within scope for this contest?
Yes, they are in scope, and for us it is important if they are in a very early stage that the potential to save the costs can be shown. I mean, if it's not mature, then we want to see the potential how costs could be saved, just to give us an idea.
I think this would even be the ideal case, to have something that is very new, being developed in a lab, and showing the way how to improve it in a way that it can become economical, whatever.
Okay, so that sounded like a lot of encouragement from the BASF team for those early stage technologies. Another question is whether or not, and this is still relating to sort of the technical maturity, is the technology that is going to be proposed, does it have to be fully developed at the time of submission, or can it still be in an earlier stage? And I think based on Sigmar and Stefan's earlier comments, the answer is that it definitely can still be at an earlier stage, correct?
Yes, absolutely correct.
Okay. Now, another question that's been asked is whether or not a submitter needs to be in partnership with another university, and it says of industry, but I think it might mean or industry, to apply. And I think that we have already discussed that submissions from partners, from consortia, from individual groups and organizations are all welcome to submit. The next question that's come up is somebody who writes, I work on solid-state hydrogen storage materials. Does the transport of hydrogen into and out of the materials sound relevant to BASF? And
yes.
So for that, I'll throw that over to Sigmar and Stefan.
Yeah.
Yeah, hydrogen storage is an interesting topic. But it's not an electrochemical system, because we say our focus is electricity to electricity. So hydrogen is a component. Hydrogen storage is an interesting topic, but not within the scope.
Or the person can show us how he wants to store electricity and release electricity with hydrogen as the energy carrier.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to step over you, Stefan.
No, it's okay.
Okay. So a follow-up question is that somebody writes that their approach will involve modeling and simulation of chemistry. For example, carbon, silicon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen all bond and react with hydrogen. How much variety on the concept of hydrogen is desired? So would this modeling and simulation type work be within scope?
No, I would say no, this is not, because it does not provide the solution we are looking for.
Okay. So then the next question is, and Sigmar, this one has been addressed actually directly to you. Would sodium batteries be an interesting alternative?
Definitely, batteries are interesting, and it depends on the chemistry that is applied, what kind of sodium-based chemistry it is, and yes, basically,
okay,
yes.
Super. So we've received some questions about the non-confidential nature of what needs to be submitted. And so if you have questions about this, what does it mean for a proposal to be non-confidential? And how could somebody perhaps describe their approach and not give away information? We have a lot of experience in working with individuals and in providing coaching. And so we would definitely encourage you to get in touch with our help desk, and you would be provided all sorts of assistance, either in general or with regards to your specific case. And so in general, the advice that I can give to the audience at large is that we want you to provide an explanation of how you achieve the ends. So what is it that you're doing? You don't necessarily need to tell us what is the material. You can just say, I have a material that is silicon-based or something. So you don't necessarily need to give away everything. You just need to say enough so that BASF can understand what your approach is. And I realize that this advice for some cases may not be applicable, which is why I would definitely encourage people who have those types of questions to get in touch with 9 Sigma. Certainly Casey at the end of this Q&A session will provide information about how to get in touch with us, and our help desk and our program managers will be happy to talk with you. So somebody has asked, going back to this intellectual property issue, somebody has asked who has the right to the development as soon as something has been submitted, and I assume that means submitted and actually awarded. So the question then is to Stefan and Sigmar.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, it was non-confidential information that was submitted, and if we want to start on that idea, we will try to negotiate at JDA and try to partner up with the submitter or with the awardee who won the contest then.
Okay, thanks for that, Stefan. So we have a follow-up question about the proposals. So it says that typically 9 Sigma proposals are written at a level of detail sufficient to convey the main concept. But it appears that this proposal needs to have more detail. Is this correct? And are there any specific metrics that must be presented in the proposal for a new technology? So I'll take a first crack at answering this, and then I'll throw it over to you guys to provide whatever metrics you need to see. So the answer in general is that, no, this proposal is like other typical 9 Sigma proposals in that you do need to convey the main concept. Now, as always, you also need to address what are the specific performance parameters and what are the specific criteria for this individual contest. And in this individual contest, there are certain things that you need to do. You need to demonstrate the role that chemistry plays. You need to demonstrate that you have the potential to store and release grid levels of electricity. With regards to metrics, Stefan, Sigmar?
Yes. I mean, energy storage is a very broad topic, and I mean, we want to get specifically solutions for storage of electricity on grid levels. That is why we have so many questions in that form that we provided for the submission of proposals. And I mean, we want to see the role that chemistry plays in the solution approach, and we also want to see the cost-saving potential. And Eloise also mentioned these important parameters for us. So, I mean, one has to answer these parameters that we can really do a due diligence on the submitted proposals.
Great, thank you very much. So we have a couple of questions that all relate to whether or not approaches could be in scope. For example, someone has written in that they have a solid-state thermal energy storage technology where the chemical composition of the material has a determining impact on the performance of the technology. Is this technology within scope?
It's thermal storage, as I understood.
Yeah, so he said they have a solid-state thermal energy storage technology.
Hmm. So we're looking for electricity storage solutions.
Okay.
So I think this is out of scope. If electricity cannot be stored and released, then it is out of scope.
Great, thank you very much. So in terms of technical maturity, again, what is the level of technical maturity for a proposed solution? Does a formulated concept involving a chemical-based solution, is something like that appropriate for this contest?
Sure. I mean, we encourage all participants to submit these proposals of something really new that no one has ever thought of. So we want also these very early stage technologies and ideas.
Great. Another question that regarding scope is whether or not somebody has written in, we perform simulations and modeling of new materials and chemical systems for process optimization and drug design. Would we be within scope if we did this and requested BASF to perform the experiment, or do we need to find a partner to do the experiments?
Well, I think this is hard for us to judge. Yeah. I mean, does the modeling involve really an idea how to store electricity, or is it only optimization, and to which extent is something optimized? So I think it's hard for us to answer this question now.
Okay. So do you have some guidance as to what additional information this person would need to provide in order to get in order to have you provide a more pointed piece of guidance back?
I mean, it would first of all, it would be interesting to know what kind of system is modeled, what kind of chemistry is the basis, and what the potential of improvement would be. Then one could decide if this experiment is necessary, and I think it would be necessary to verify.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Sigmar. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. I think it would be essential to get someone to do really the proof experimentally that what has been modeled can also be translated into a real improvement.
We have another question about, thank you very much, Sigmar, for that. We have another question about technical maturity. So somebody has written in, how progressed does the technology need to be in order to be considered? For example, if we have a small-scale reactor designed and partially built with some data, is that okay? Or does the system need to be built and ready to drop in immediately upon submission?
Yeah, that's the same as we had for the question before. So no, I mean, if it's really an idea and he can answer all our questions that we have in the proposal form, then it's absolutely okay. And we really encourage these preliminary ideas also, as long as the questions of electricity storage and cost saving can be answered and as a potential can be shown, then we highly welcome these proposals.
Great. Thank you, Stefan. Another question about scope. Can you scroll up, please? Thanks. Is this just about storage, or could a proposal also be about harvesting energy using chemicals with good storage capacity?
I mean, is it harvesting or is it storage?
I mean, if energy is harvested directly in chemicals can also be stored typically, and then you have a combination of harvesting and storage. I don't understand where without knowing the system.
Okay, so without more information, it's a maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's important that electricity is fed into the system and that electricity is released. I think that can help to answer that question if it is in scope or not.
Okay. So another person has written in, the technologies are said to be robust. What does this mean? Does all levels of intermittency need to be targeted, or can a niche be targeted?
I mean, robust means that we want to apply it for grid storage. And as I have shown in the slides, there are different levels of grid storage. There are big time scales of hours, but there is also this peak shaving, and this is all in scope of the contest. But robust means that it can be used for grid storage and that it has a certain lifetime.
And what about the question of intermittency? So I think that this person is probably getting at, in terms of all levels of intermittency, diurnal versus tidal versus, gusts of wind. Do they all have to be addressed, or can one niche be addressed?
So one niche is sufficient if it's then load leveling or peak shaving. I mean, that is important for us, but both, I think there's no way that both can be addressed simultaneously by one idea.
Great, thank you very much. So we have yet another question about modeling. Somebody has written in, molecular modeling is used to understand chemistry driving performance. So would modeling be within scope?
No, I mean, we are looking for systems that we can apply to store electricity and to release electricity. And if it's just about modeling, I think that will not help us in this context.
Great. And then yet one more question on scope here. the use of nanotechnology and or nanoparticles for chemical self-assembly coatings. Is this eligible for submission?
For self-assembly coatings, did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
Coatings. Coatings is a very broad field. I don't have the link to energy storage. If it's a coating for an electrode in a battery, that is a breakthrough technology, yes. If it's a coating of a housing, no.
Okay, so basically what you're saying, Sigmar, is it could be eligible, but it would be on the submitter to make the case for how this is relating to energy storage.
Yes, right.
Okay, great. Somebody has asked in, again, these are all questions relating to scope, where might Catalyst fit in the scope of this contest?
Catalyst?
Catalyst, yes.
It's similar if there is a direct link to an energy storage device where this catalyst is applied, and this has advantages, new features, yes.
Excellent. So we have a number of questions about the sort of housekeeping details for the proposal itself in terms of the format, the scope, etc. And I want to remind everybody that you need to be registered and logged in to submit a proposal at the website. When you are registered and logged in, if you hit Respond Now, the online response form will appear before you, and you can see that it will be a number of fields, and each field will have a prompt at the top explaining what information needs to be provided within those fields. You know, you can create a document and cut and paste after you've had a chance to see what the form is asking for. You can compose on the fly and save a draft and come back to it later. This is up to you. But this is something that you can see for yourself by registering at our website and then logging in. So now somebody else has asked, among secondary batteries, fuel cells, and supercapacitors, what are the best devices for your objective?
I mean, one main objective is cost saving. So, I mean, if cost saving against state-of-the-art technologies can be shown, then the cheapest system is the most interesting one for us.
We are open for all these kind of technologies, but considering the application grid storage, you have to have a certain storage range, and so there are probabilities that one or the other is better suitable for this specific application. A battery more than a capacitor, because I don't see the capacity being so big to store large amount of energy. But we are open. If there is a breakthrough technology in supercapacitors that are completely new, it's not a double layer technology, some kind of hybrid or whatever, be free to submit your proposal.
All right, Casey is signaling me. She's indicating that we have only a few minutes left, and she needs this time to be able to wrap up. So, you know, I want to emphasize that questions that were asked that we haven't had a chance to address, they will be answered by 9 Sigma and by the BASF team, and they will be appended to the written transcript. We've had a great Q&A session. We've had a lot of questions about scope, about technical maturity. So I think the takeaway is, in terms of technical maturity, you do not need to have something fully developed. Things that are early stage, that only have maybe preliminary supporting data from a laboratory experiment, are also welcome, as are more mature technologies. From the standpoint of scope, it sounds like things, you know, you need to be able to demonstrate how your technology addresses storage of electricity, storage and release of technology. Storage and release of electricity, and your technology needs to have a chemistry component. So it is on you to demonstrate, to make the case for how your proposed technology can address the energy storage question at hand. So storage of electricity, strong component for chemistry. Modeling, we've had a lot of questions about modeling, and it sounds like unless you can partner up with somebody to demonstrate how your modeling will achieve these ends, it may or may not be within scope. Okay, I'm going to hand this over to Casey because she's giving me the anxious look and I talked for too long.
No. Thank you so much, Eloise. It was a great summation of what we just went through with the live Q&A. As always, it was an engaging Q&A. Thank you, everybody from the BASF team, for your expertise in all of the topics that were put forth. So, as Eloise said, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up right now. And one of the biggest things is, what can you do today? We've mentioned this a number of times. Please visit the contest website. There upon that website is the community forum that we keep mentioning, where this recording and this transcription will be posted, and you can post a number of questions that will be answered directly. That website is 9sites.9sigma.com/web/BASF-contest/home. You can get to it very easily through the 9sites website as well. If you go through 9sites and then the Grand Challenges, the Grand Challenges menu item at the top of the page. Again, the deadline for submissions is June 2nd of 2015. As Eloise said, we will be sending out a number of communications to notify you of that and ensure that you have all of that information so that you can submit on time in our Eastern Daylight Time Zone at time. So again, that concludes our webinar for this morning. For additional information, again, we encourage you to visit that website. Register there to stay connected and participate in that forum. Please note that it's one last reminder that this webinar was recorded and will be made available on that contest site along with this Q&A transcript. Again, thank you to everybody for attending, and thank you to our speakers for their time and expertise. We appreciate everybody's time in joining us today, and we look forward to receiving your submissions. Thank you again, and have a great day.